Who does this remind you of? I could take you back to your birth experience.
Vidisha, Heal Your Life coach from Louis Hay.
I was a closeted spiritualist, and I think it's much needed on this planet right now.
Take us back to your childhood.
There were experiences happening to me which I couldn't understand, but something started feeling empty.
Scary.
I was doing my MBA, but surprisingly enough, along with my MBA, it was like the universe had sent spiritual experiences to happen over there in England. Waitress at a pub who's sitting and sharing the table with me and is talking about Kriya Yoga. And I remember saying ki taliyan sab jhooti hain. Suddenly I wake up with facial paralysis. The universe had its own plans, and therefore I got certified in Heal Your Life. So within our psyche as a human being, there is a part of us which is an inner parent, there is an inner child, and there is an adult. At some point, you start moving beyond religion and you start exploring spirituality. I think when I took to sound healing, it was as if it was work I was continuing from another lifetime. Now, I might ask a simple question like, how you begin your day is how you live your day.
Hi guys, welcome to We Evolve Wellness. Today we have a very, very special guest, Vidisha. She's been into the corporate environment for 13 years and then moved into healing, which she's been practicing for 14 years now. She calls herself a spiritual catalyst. She's a certified Heal Your Life coach from Louis Hay. She's also a sound healer. She's also into life coaching and multiple other things. And her core is inner child healing. And we can't wait to talk about this with Vidisha. We so welcome you to our studio. And wow, feels so special to meet another healer.
Thank you so much, Neha. It's lovely to be here. And I just want to say congratulations because you're doing beautiful work. And I think it's much needed on this planet right now.
Thank you. I'm glad. So Vidisha, I'm so curious to know your journey, because it's so relatable for me. Transitioning from a corporate career to then following your purpose and calling. So take us back to your childhood and or take us through your milestones.
Yeah. So I think it's always good to start from the start. So mine really started, Neha, right in my childhood. And I've said this often enough that I was a closeted spiritualist. You have people who are closeted with their sexual orientation today. You have various types of closeted people, but I was a closeted spiritual being. And the reason, of course, was that it was not cool back then to talk about these things. However, I think there were experiences happening to me which I couldn't understand or put together. I also had a very experientially rich childhood, very diverse. So parents who were Hindu Sikh. I was never put into a box of any kind. When I look back now, my childhood always had that diversity which could give me the kind of exposure I required. I never got what is mundane, which is the tried and tested, which is the straight path. Very challenging, very rich in experience. Things that propelled me, even as a child, to ask questions like, why am I here?
Wow.
And I remember for the longest time looking at the sky, even as a child, and thinking, I want to go home. And constantly getting that feeling that I want to go home and wondering why I'm getting it. And of course, I never talked about it. So fast forward to later in life where I began to recognize that there is something within me which is different. And at the look of things, at the outset, I was a high achiever in terms of being a public speaker, being very good with debates and declamation, being someone who was celebrated in college well enough, got a lot of validation there. But something started feeling empty. And I remember saying कि तालियां सब झूठी हैं at a very young age. And both my parents were very active on the social front, contribution to society, holding various positions in things like, being the president of Lions Club or various other organizations, both my parents. So I was very familiar with the whole dunya ka, the tali and the audience and the wawa and all of that. Something started feeling empty to me at a very young age, but I wouldn't talk about it. So went on. And then I started seeking books, I remember, but I used to hide and read these books. So one of the books I remember reading very early on, and I know that was my starting point. It was the autobiography of a yogi.
Thought so.
As it has been for many of us. I'm getting goosebumps now. So I think it was just meant to come at that time and sort of sow the seeds or help me remember why I was here, because I was already asking these questions. Why am I here? And which was very strange for a young person to be asking. So at the front of things, I was cool. I was into pop music. I was up there on stage representing my university, going for nationals and all of that. But behind the scenes, there was a lot happening within me, which was hidden from just about everybody, including my family. And this went on till such time that my mother started getting more spiritually oriented. We are a very liberal family, a family that never believed in, okay, you can't go to this place. You could go to a dargah, you could go to the mandir, you could go to the gurdwara. We grew up with a culture of service and doing seva and contributing on every birthday and every occasion. Which naturally meant that at some point you start moving beyond religion and you start exploring spirituality. So I remember my mother sort of exploring it. And along with that, I started coming across various teachers, masters with a lot of ease. Now, when I look back, it happened with so much ease that people crave for that kind of an experience.
Yeah.
Just that I didn't know it back then. I thought, okay, this is just happening. I was just present in that moment. But it was so happened that out of, so many people, I would get singled out to be one-on-one with masters, with teachers of various kinds.
Wow.
And that made me very curious. Now, along with that, I was, of course, studying. I was ambitious to do what I thought I was here to do. And to cut a long story short, I was studying for my MBA in the UK. I'd done very well in terms of the little career that I had before that. And I was doing my MBA, but surprisingly enough, along with my MBA, it was like the universe had sent spiritual experiences to happen over there in England. So I would, with complete synchronicity, be amongst people who understood things like healing, who were talking about Mahavatar Babaji, who were into the Yogada Satsang Society. Even a waitress at a pub who's sitting and sharing the table with me and is talking about Kriya Yoga. This is in the middle of central London. So things were, amazingly synchronized by the universe to just happen. Now, when I look back, I think I was very, very blessed. And I didn't know it back then.
For sure.
However, I was still not owning this or understanding it. And a lot happened in life post that. A lot of experiences, a lot of what can be termed as suffering, which today, when I look back, I realize that these were just the universe's way of keeping me aligned and not letting me sink into something which was not my true calling, but to delude myself into believing, you go ahead with just this. So it was in much later that I woke up one morning while I was in the middle of my corporate career. I was part of transitions. So I used to represent a very huge IT firm here in India in the middle of all deals and all of that. And suddenly I wake up with facial paralysis one morning. So I wake up with facial paralysis and I don't even know it's happening. Anyway, my mother's a doctor. So she kind of took me through some steps of, she said, fill air in your cheeks, and it just leaked. I would do, and it went, pss. So that is when she said, you need to go see a neurologist right now.
How old were you?
Oh, this is much later in life. This is in 2012 that this happened. So I was well into my 30s. And I was grudgingly landed up at the neurologist and realized, and she told me that you've got something called Bell's palsy. And allopathy had very few answers to why it gets caused, when does it heal, etc., etc. So they were optimistic because I was supposed to be on the younger side and put on to steroids. And then the steroids had side effects. So one of the side effects was that I started experiencing extreme rage, which I never had. I was supposed to be this good girl, ideal child, golden child, always achieving, always doing the right thing. So when I started experiencing rage, I was very scared. I had a child by then. She was 2 years old. And I said, I don't even trust myself with her. Please keep her away.
Oh, it was that bad.
It was that bad. And I would eat. I remember standing in front of the fridge and thinking, what can I eat? So which was unknown to me, this sort of impulse driven, at the mercy of my senses and my emotions. So I remember going to the neurologist and saying, I can't be on this. So I was put on to physiotherapy. I was weaned off steroids. And that is when I think my life changed, thanks to Bell's palsy, because I was so desperate. I remembered this singer called Rageshwari who had got Bell's palsy. And I remember seeing her on the cover of a magazine. So quickly I Googled and I said, what did she do? And whatever she did, I said, I'm just going to do that. Absolutely the same. So I remember physiotherapy, the 5 Tibetan rites, which she had mentioned, and the work of Louise Hay. And that is when the work of Louise Hay really entered my life. She had done this enormous body of work around the mind, body, emotions. And so I was so desperate, I was willing to explore it. And that is when I really set working on my own healing through whatever tools she had shared, the practices. I remember reading the book, You Can Heal Your Life. Now that book had been sitting on my bookshelf since 7 years, but I was not ready for it. It was just one of those good to know books. And then here I was.
You needed a reminder.
I needed a kick on the butt, not just a reminder. So that's when I consulted the book and I started working on my healing. And it took about 12 days and I healed completely. And that's when I was shocked. I said, oh my God, this stuff works. This is not just some woo-woo, good to know, fairy tale stuff. This is real. And that changed everything because then I started experimenting with various aspects of my life, including my work, finances, my relationships. And slowly but surely, I realized that this stuff works. This is like law.
Magic.
Yeah, it's magical law. It doesn't change no matter where I apply it. And that's what really led me to eventually say goodbye to my corporate career in terms of being a full-time employee, to becoming somebody who facilitates transformation within the corporate world today.
Wow.
And one thing led to the other. I can go on and on about it, but the magic was always there. The signs were always there to guide me, to give me the strength and the conviction, because it was a fat paycheck I was saying bye to. So
very hard call.
Yes. And it was something I had educated myself for, worked many years for. So it needed a lot of conviction
and courage.
So the signs were always there to help me with that. And that's how eventually I got into the world of healing. And now, of course, working with thousands of people.
Wow. I mean, such a beautiful journey. So, I mean, once you quit the corporate, the first thing you did was the Heal Your Life certification.
Yes.
Can you take us through the sequence of modalities that you took up organically?
I think the first thing I did was I became a certified life coach because people were already getting magnetized to me in terms of taking advice, coming for help and all of that. And I realized that there's something going on. So one of the first things I did was getting certified as a life coach. But soon enough, the next big thing that happened was the Heal Your Life certification, which I was sure I'm an imposter in. I said, I don't belong to the world of healing. I'm a corporate person. I'm fact-driven. I come from a medical background and all of that. But the universe had its own plans, and therefore I got certified in Heal Your Life as a teacher, an internationally certified teacher, followed by getting certified in various other modalities such as EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, and many metaphysical tools and practices which I use now. And then came sound healing, which was another very important point in my life, I feel, because I think when I took to sound healing, it was as if it was work I was continuing from another lifetime.
Wow.
From the moment I held the Tibetan singing bowls in my hand and I played, I remember my teacher saying, "You don't sound like you're playing this for the first time." And I said, "I don't feel like I'm playing this for the first time," because I was so much in my element. I felt like I'm coming home. And it was
your soul memory kind of remembered.
It was much later that I realized that I had a very strong connection to a Tibetan past life. So all this was already done and it felt like home.
Wow.
Which is why I feel very strong resonation with certain lands and with the Buddha and with the whole philosophy of middle path on this planet.
And how long back was sound healing for you?
Sound healing was around 2016.
Wow. So almost 10 years.
Yeah. I also then went on to practice Vipassana. So, yes. And I've been very, very inclined, and it's integrated very beautifully because it doesn't clash with anything. So mindfulness, Vipassana is my way, my practice. And it's got integrated into with all this work quite beautifully.
Wow. That brings me to my next question. That what's your lifestyle today? Because, you have so much on the plateau, but personally, what all do you practice? Because that would be a good, guideline for all of us.
Yes. So one of the things that I think had a very early impact on me was something Louise Hay used to say.
Can you take us through your day routine?
Yes. That's what
let's go
that
around
makes
the
sense
clock.
Because that's how things get real.
Yeah, because, practically, how do you implement it?
So Louise used to often say that how you begin your day is how you live your day. And how you live your day is how you live your life. So I think one of the the earliest things that I did was straighten out my morning routine. So with the morning, I tend to integrate affirmations into my day. I can sometimes make separate time for it, which means I will go to the bathroom, I will look at myself in the mirror, and I will give myself a lot of affirmations. I have, however, also started integrating it with anything I'm doing. So, for example, if I'm taking a shower, there are affirmations I'm going to say with it. There is a meditative process I'm going to do, because I realized everything can be an act of meditation.
I absolutely agree. I do the same.
You do the same. So that's where I realized that when you're taking a shower, what stops me from visualizing this beautiful white light healing me as the water spills over me, or for me to thank each part of the body for what it does. So that's one of my things that I share with everybody, a really practical tip. When you're taking a bath, just thank each body part for what it does. And that's so beautiful because you walk out of it with not just your affirmations, but your gratitude. Your vibration of gratitude is already activated for the day.
Sets the tone.
Yes, which it does. One of my favorite things to do in the morning is while I'm sipping my tea or my lemon water, I'm going to sit and write gratitude in my gratitude journal.
Wow.
So I love combining things. Because
so you start with affirmations in the morning. Then you have your journal,
yes,
which is your gratitude journal.
Yes.
What next?
So what comes next is workout, anything which involves physical movement, which could be something I'm doing at home, or I could be going for a walk. This is ideally what I would love to do on a given day. And after the workout is when I find meditation the easiest. Because the body has kind of got into that zone of having expended the extra energy. having, settled into a certain rhythm. And that's when I find that you organically fall into meditation.
It's easier to.
It's easier. So sometimes I could actually sit down for meditation right at the spot where I go for a walk. I go to this place which has a lot of trees and nature. And I could be just sitting there. And there have been times I've had squirrels running back and forth and I'm sitting and doing my meditation.
Wow.
So that's when I find it easiest to do.
And any method you follow to meditate?
Usually mindfulness, which means I'm going to be present fully to first my external environment and then internally to everything that's going on. In a nutshell, if I were to summarize it. But many times I will vary it depending on what's going on in life. It could be some inner child work. It could be a healing for a physical part of the body that I need to work on that day. It could be and usually I end it with a practice of metta, which is very well known in Vipassana, wherein I might sit and send loving compassion to the world, loving compassion to my nation. So I might even visualize the map of India and send it a lot of love.
Beautiful.
And if there's anything going on, and that's another thing I do, if there are disturbing events going on in the world, I might send healing to that place. Instead of getting disturbed by that energy, I can actually send healing, send light, send metta to that part of the world. And then usually that fills me up with a very beautiful oneness, oneness with the cosmic force.
I love that.
Which we anyway are, Neha.
Yeah.
That separation is the illusion. So the moment vibrationally I'm in that zone, the oneness kind of dawns on me again. I'm reconnected. So that's how I love to start my day. Sometimes I vary it depending on my state of mind. I might, for example, run, because let's say if there are a lot of disturbing thoughts or something's happening in the world and that's consuming me, I might do a little more physical work so that the energy moves. So I might go for a run instead of a walk on that day. And then when I sit in meditation, I know that it's all settling. It's like muddy water settling. And then the mud gets separated. So that's usually how I start my day. I also try to give myself a reminder every couple of hours. So this is when I'll do something called a check-in. So I'll check in with myself. What am I feeling? Wow. So maybe by the afternoon when I check in, and I remain completely authentic. I don't try to bypass emotions. So if I'm feeling disturbed, I'll honestly say, okay, there's a disturbance coming up. Can I lovingly hold space for it? Can I love myself through this disturbance? So breath work is again something I love doing at such times. Mirror work is something I love doing. We'll talk about it maybe more. But these are things I practice through the day. Every time I go to the washroom, I might do a little bit of work on myself just for a second or two. And then through the day, I do this check-in. Night is another time when I like to consciously end the
golden
day.
Time of the subconscious.
Absolutely. So that could be a time when I'm scripting. It could be a time when I'm doing affirmations. It could be a time when I am doing a lot of gratitude. Because again, having the blessing of the Sikh heritage, each of the Sikh prayers is actually apt for a certain time of the day. So for example, for the night, there is a part called Regression, which is all about gratitude and surrender, which is all about, okay, I've done my karma and now I surrender it to you.
Oh.
So, which is a beautiful heritage that I carry within me, and sometimes I end my night through that.
Wow, that sounds so ideal. My God, I'm
It's
sure
not
this
always
is
ideal, Neha. However, yes, this is how I like to intentionally do it. Also adding, sometimes if I'm working on manifesting something, I could be visualizing, or I could set the tone for visualizing something. And then the subconscious is working on it through the night.
Yeah, I mean, this gives me a feeling of, you becoming a creator rather than just reacting on your life. And it's such a empowered feeling, when you are able to create on a daily basis, because I believe that, every day is like a miniature of our life. Yeah. And if we can create every day, you can have like design your entire life. I think that's amazing. So let's talk also now on affirmations, because that's your core. And I think in today's time, the power of word and manifestation is, we all know about it. But, just to go a little deeper into the science of it, how would you explain, how it works, and what are the scientific details of this method?
I'm glad you're asking that question, because I think affirmations are another thing which is understood partially. So what most of us don't realize is that we are affirming constantly. We may be doing it intentionally or unintentionally. So what the world understands as affirmations today is essentially positive. But we're also affirming negatively the whole day, unconsciously.
The self-talk.
And those are affirmations too. So if I am projecting something, or I am doing some practice in the morning and I'm saying, I love and approve of myself. But the moment I'm slightly late for something, now my internal dialogue is saying, why do you always do this? Why are you always doing this? Why can't you get better? If there is a critic talking within me, then whatever I've done in the morning is already depleted by then, because I filled myself up with some positive charge. And now I'm depleting that through the self-conversation. It could even be about my view about the world, about my country. It could be thoughts about, this is how it is. Ye community aisi hai. Ye gender aisa hai. This
being
is
judgmental.
Being judgmental. It's again leaking energy constantly. And I'm affirming something. So when I'm saying the state of the world is pathetic today, that's an affirmation. And it's a very strong affirmation because it's getting repeated throughout the day. It's also a collective affirmation. You will find millions of people resonating with that. And all of us collectively are affirming that, creating that.
Making it stronger.
We are making it stronger. We are co-creating it every moment. So
Whereas it should be the other way around.
That's something we're not aware of. When we say the word affirmations, we only think of positive things, but that's not how life is working. How life is working is that anything I repeatedly think or say or entertain is an affirmation. If I'm hanging around people who are constantly talking negative and I'm present to it, my energy is engaged, I am affirming it. Even if I don't agree to it, even if I'm not saying it, I'm affirming it. I'm co-creating it because it's percolating into my belief system. It's dripping drop by drop. Even if I don't accept 100% of it, even if I accept 1% of it unconsciously, I'm receiving it. So all this is a part of affirmations. But if I were to say, okay, consciously, how do we practice affirmations? Then obviously we get clear on what is it that I want. What is my desired state? And therefore my thoughts, words, and actions need to affirm that, not just my words. So if my words are saying I'm safe, but I'm preparing for danger constantly, then I'm affirming the danger because that's the stronger energy and that's winning. And that's a secret not many people talk about. But that's the key. That through my thoughts, words, and actions, I affirm the same thing. And that's when there's clarity, there's alignment and manifestation. But when there's a clash, the stronger energy wins, which is usually the negative.
I think most of us are struggling with this, right? I mean, we all are aware of manifestation, but I think clarity is missing today. And so for someone who wants to manifest, how do I get to that state of clarity? Is there something that you can guide on to the audience in terms of where do they start this process of manifestation? What's the starting point? And then how do they get to the state of clarity where they can actually tell the universe, this is what I want and want to create?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that is often overlooked for various reasons is the importance of release. Releasing that which is not in alignment. Releasing almost like housekeeping every day. So while we follow that for physical body, if you don't release at a physical level, you know you're not well on that day. You're not going to feel hungry. You're not going to feel good. Your bath is an act of release.
Oh, yeah.
You're using the toilet is an act of release and needs to happen every day. And somehow spiritually we forget that. We don't apply that. So what happens is you're filled with something which is toxic. And you're wanting to eat a 7-course meal. So you're doing affirmations and pretty things. That's like I've got fungus and I'm putting fairy lights on it. It's not going to work. So you got to do the cleaning. You got to do the dirty work, which first of all, the world doesn't want to market because it's not pretty. Secondly, as seekers, we are hesitant because it doesn't feel good. But it's essential. And it doesn't feel good because of the whole need for pleasant and aversion from unpleasant. We've confused our highest good with pleasantness.
Yeah.
Often what is pleasant may not have our highest good.
True.
Often what is unpleasant, like neem, is highly beneficial for us. I'm not saying always, but often.
Eventually.
Yeah. Sometimes it's important to have both. And this whole aversion to unpleasantness and craving for that which is pleasant creates issues in our life. It gets our compass all wrong. So which is where if I am clearing my energy every morning, which is when I shared my daily routine, I said if I'm triggered, I might go for a run. Because that's when I'm doing something vigorous. I'm expelling something at a physical level. Now, do you always have to expel something at a physical level? No. Even in a state of mindfulness, you can sit and witness your emotions coming up with high intensity. You can witness anger coming up and release it. You can write it, journal it, and release it. You can do it through so many methods. But if we are conscious and we are aware, then we are able to do it. If you are unconscious, you're either going to blame somebody or yourself.
Yeah, I mean, most of us are unconscious, right?
Yeah.
Through the day, there's a bout of anger which can come up in any situation.
Yeah.
And not necessarily we are very aware at that moment. I mean, it's very difficult to be conscious.
Yes.
So, I mean, for a layman, a person who is, let's say, working in the corporate or living a very mundane life, what are the tools that a person can use to, become more conscious of their own emotions, like you said, throughout the day? Because morning, when you wake up, maybe things could be a little more balanced. But through the day, as we go through so many challenges, I think that's where our emotions would come up the most, the negative ones. So, any tools that you would recommend for people for the cleansing part or centering part?
Yeah. So, Neha, you've asked a very important question because this, first of all, requires that I build a relationship with myself. I cannot hold space for myself if I'm not spending time with myself. How many people today are spending time with themselves? If spending time with yourself means sitting with your phone and browsing reels, then clearly we've misunderstood the assignment. We've got it all wrong.
Just the opposite.
It's just the opposite. If it means reaching out to friends and sharing, again, we've misunderstood the assignment. If it means shopping or doing something to distract myself, it's very similar to, when my child is well behaved, I'm all hunky-dory. I'm there for my child. But the moment my child is lonely or angry or upset, I don't want to be with the child.
I love that. My God, yeah.
That's what we do to ourselves. The moment things get unpleasant, we're not there. In fact, we want to hurry. And we want to do anything to plug that.
Escape out.
And the truth is just the opposite. Those are the moments when you most require your love and attention. And all this about, oh, I love myself. Love is a verb. Love is not a noun. Saying I love myself is empty. It's just lip service. Am I there for myself when things get tough? Am I there when I'm experiencing unpleasant stuff? That is what truly is the proof of whether you love yourself or even like yourself. Forget about love.
True.
So starting with being willing to spend time with yourselves. And that's tough for most people, by the way. While we are just mentioning it in a sentence, if you try it with an office full of people and you just take away their gadgets or tell them to be present with themselves, somebody will say, I'm getting bored. Somebody will say, oh, I can't be, I'm restless.
Scary.
Yeah, all that is nothing but a curtain, a facade for not being able to be present with yourself.
So when you say being with yourself, you mean the inner child in us?
I mean,
Can
yes,
we
being present to yourself.
Also elaborate on that part. Like when
Yes.
we're spending time with ourselves, what exactly it means? Are we spending time with our inner child? Because I think that's the most pure consciousness we have inside. So can you...
Who are we spending time with? Who is the self, first of all, that we are talking about? So there are various layers to this self. Yeah. One layer is that whatever I have acquired in this moment from my environment, maybe somebody shouted at me in traffic. Now I've acquired that energy. At my most superficial level, that's again become a part of my energy, though I've acquired it. Now, when I've acquired it, my holding space for myself could be that I just become present to the disturbance. I allow that wave of disturbance to come up and I allow it to go after that. And I don't run away. I don't try to change it. I don't do anything. I'm here. Like a child who's experiencing a tantrum, I tell the child, I'm here with you. So eventually it will subside. Because it's all transient. These emotions are transient emotions. So that's one level. But like I said, that's the uppermost layer of recent disturbance. Okay? Then I could have more old stuff that comes up. My baggage, my projections, what I've picked up in this lifetime, karma, what I may have brought as sanskars from another lifetime. Can I be present to that also? Within me are various parts of me. There is a critic present within me. Can I be present with the critic? Can I give love to the critic and therefore slowly dissolve it and merge it with my core energy? Instead of running away from the critic or criticizing the critic, can I be with it? Then along with that is a part of me which you're really tuned into, which is the inner child. So the inner child within me is this beautiful energy of childlike innocence at its origin. And now has layers and layers of trauma, layers of baggage, layers of pain that it has acquired, which is why oftentimes when we react in a disproportionate way, we wonder why we did that. We say, मैं हूँ तो बहुत mature, पता नहीं उस समय क्या हो गया. I lost my temper. I started crying. I felt helpless. Now, who in that moment is feeling helpless? It is not the adult you. It is the child within you, which is feeling abandoned because the connection with myself is missing. The relationship with myself is missing. Now, when that's missing, the inner child is going to feel all alone, abandoned. Nobody stood up for me. When the world gives challenges and I don't stand up for my inner child, I don't nourish it, I don't nurture it, I don't keep my inner child as my number one priority. I enter a relationship and that person becomes so important to me that the first person I abandon is my inner child.
Biggest mistake.
Now that I've caused trauma, I have added on to the layer of trauma. And now my relationship with my inner child is further fractured. पहली बात तो है ही नहीं है, कनेक्शन ही नहीं है. भूल गए हैं उसको. अब बन भी रहा है तो वो fractured हो गया बीच में, because I don't, love is a verb. I don't live it. I just keep saying, I love and approve of you. And the inner child says rubbish. Often when I do inner child work, deeper processes with people, the first time around, the inner child is sometimes not willing to connect to them.
Yeah.
Has a lot of anger.
Yeah.
Has so much anger that sometimes it takes time to build that safety, because the inner child knows कि हाँ आज तो मैं बता दूँ आपको ये सब, and then tomorrow you're going to again slip.
Yeah.
You're again going to leave me.
Yeah.
So
that fear of abandonment.
Yeah, it's like a parent who's only present when I behave well, when everything is good. The moment things are bad, or the moment there are guests, you forget me.
So would you correlate the inner child to our soul consciousness, or is it the mind? Because this is something, again, people get very confused.
Yeah.
So there's this one part of us, which is our pure conscious, which is observing the inner child.
Yeah.
That is the soul consciousness, and the inner child is our mind.
Yeah.
Or it's the other way around.
So the pure consciousness, or the highest self that you have, is your entire soul entity. Okay? Now, a lot of people are confused that, when we die, you think that your entire soul's energy is present in this body. But that's not a fact. A part of your entire, if you can visualize an umbrella, then a part of that energy is broadcasted into this body, and you're existent here. It could be that at the same time, there are other parts of your energy being broadcast in some other galaxy, some other dimensions.
Or even the same planet.
Even the same planet. Now, you're both part of the same soul. But the whole is bigger than the parts. It's the same scientific principle. So your highest self has visibility to your life plan, your soul plan, everything. It has already chosen the parents, the family, the circumstances based on your goals in this lifetime, based on the path you've chosen in this lifetime. Now that apart, what part is the inner child? Now the inner child is often confused with the highest consciousness, which it necessarily isn't. Let's also understand this is a very recent term that we are talking about in terms of psychology. So these are words that mean different things to different people. If you open the Indian texts, you don't find anything like the inner child there. But you do find the man, the chit, all of that.
In a different terminology.
So you do even understand that the intellect is separate from consciousness. I could be a very intelligent person, but very unconscious. Hitler, Ravan, whoever you want to name, extremely intelligent people. So the intellect was very sharp, but at the same time, the consciousness level was low. So inner child usually is a part of us, which is retained within us as an adult. So within our psyche, as a human being, there is a part of us which is an inner parent. There is an inner child, and there is an adult within us. Now, if you notice when you're interacting with somebody, you're picking one of these three roles. Let's say you're with a partner who's behaving very immature, or a colleague who's very immature. You might unconsciously get into the inner parenting role without even knowing. Which is why sometimes you hear from people, why is she mothering me? Why is he behaving like my father? I need a partner, not a mom. Because they've moved to the inner parent role. And the inner parent can often be very critical depending on how your parent was. The inner parent can also be very, subscribing or prescriptive, so to say. It can give you advice and all of that. The inner child is the part of you which holds on to certain aspects of wanting love, encouragement, being playful, wanting someone to take care of it, depending on someone to take care of it. It is also the part of us which can act out, throw a tantrum, do things to catch our attention like a little child does. So if I have a child and I'm not listening to the child, what is the child going to do? Cranky. So they're going to make noise. And if I don't listen, what are they going to do after that?
Cry.
Right? So
Get depressed
or break something. In a similar way, we self-sabotage. That's the first thing we do when the inner child is disturbed and we don't have a good relationship, many of us have a pattern of self-sabotage.
Big time.
Big time. So we're planning something beautiful, massive at a conscious level, but something within us hijacks it. Something within us doubts it. Something within us is constantly saying, I can't do this, is feeling powerless. And that's an unhealed inner child component.
And I think that's also a source of joy.
That is also a source of joy, which is where a healed inner child is a source of playfulness, is a source of joy, is a source of surrender, trust. You know how a child has trust on the parent? Similarly, we are able to trust life. We are able to trust the universe. We don't turn into control freaks when the inner child is healed.
This
So
is
there's
so
a difference.
interesting. And the third thing you said was
Is the
adult.
adult mode.
Can you also elaborate on that?
Yeah. So the adult is the one whose conscious and unconscious behavior is intentional, right? So they are able to respond in a mature way. That part of us is mature.
More
It is
responsible.
more responsible, but it is not prescriptive. It's not becoming a parent. And often in relationships with other adults, you want to eventually come back to this. Because otherwise, it can be very disempowering for one or the other. For example, if with your partner, you're constantly inner child active. And
The
those are
other
the
person
people,
will go crazy.
those are the people you see them acting out, you see them behaving in ways which are crazy, and you're like, what does she want? What's wrong with this person? I wanted a wife. I didn't want this thing which is constantly throwing a tantrum over mujhe yahi bag chahiye, Or a husband who says, why didn't you sit with me? Why didn't you pay attention to me? Now, all this is not the sign of a great partnership between two adults, whether it at work or especially in intimate relationships. Similarly, you don't want to be a parent
All the time.
all the time. And it's uncanny when one takes on the role of being too much of a child, the other becomes a parent. And that's what
the
leads to.
balance.
So that creates a balance in that moment, but it creates an imbalance if it is going on for too long. Because then I'm depleted. I'm like, I worked all my life. मैं दूसरों के साथ सारी responsibilities fulfill कर रहा हूँ. And now at home also, I have to play that role. So I'm tired and I'm exhausted. So in fulfilling relationships with other adults, you want to move to adult mode. And that is where the magic is in terms of relationships with adults. I'm not talking about children.
I think, which makes me understand that first is the balance within us.
Yes.
Between the three. The child, adult, and the parent.
Yes.
And then I think the external balance with, let's say, your partner, first of all,
Yeah.
your life partner, which is the most important relationship, but also with anybody, that you're interacting with. I think you're playing one of the three roles,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, in a work environment, you would be mostly an adult,
You
right?
want to be an adult.
More
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
And maybe a parent sometimes if you're a leader.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, a lot of leaders experience this. Like they feel the emotion of motherhood to kind of nurture the team and bring the best out of them.
Yes.
So, so do you recommend balancing the three? Is there any, sort of a solution or a formula where we can consciously try to balance it within us?
Yeah.
And also externally.
Yes. So this is something that, again, I discovered through my own work, research, and the work I've done with clients that sometimes there is a need to don one of these hats, right? There could be a situation where a certain team member requires me to put on that parenting hat. So depending on the situation, I might be there for them, fulfilling a certain need for direction, advice, nurturing, nourishing, or even a fatherly figure for that matter, who's there to help with decision making, help with, the execution part of things. But in the long run, you don't want to stay in that because that's going to disempower your employee. It's going to make you resentful. Because you're like, agar mujhe hi karna hai, then what's the role of this person? So while it is very important to remain alert and conscious that in this situation, I'm wearing this hat for this purpose. Like I go out, it's raining, I wear a raincoat. But can I continue wearing a raincoat when it stopped raining? Now that'll be foolish, right?
Yeah.
So my alertness, my consciousness tells me, okay, the time for this is over. Let's move into adult mode. So I might sit with that team member after the situation is over and help them in terms of empowerment, saying, okay, what are your observations? I know I helped you this time. You needed me to pitch in, but let's put together something for the next situation. Now you're moving into
An adult.
yes. You're graduating from that parenting role to adult role, which in fact is even helpful to parents of young adults, young teens, to empower them and not disempower them.
Yeah.
Don't start doing their work.
Become friends.
Become friends. It's like the mother who teaches her child where to put the bag, where to put the uniform. She's empowering that child. But if she starts doing that work, she's going to be resentful and the child will not learn.
Yeah. It's a loss on both sides.
It's a loss on both sides. So this is where discernment is needed on a day-to-day basis, whether it's in the corporate world, at a workplace, or within your home, or in a relationship. Maybe my partner is going through a low phase, requires that nourishment, requires that parenting role for a little bit of time. And I'm able to give it to them. But can I move from that? Now that's where we got to be aware and alert.
I think on a daily basis, we are switching between the three roles. Now
It's like driving. You're changing gears.
Yeah. I mean, now when I'm thinking and going through my own day, I realize that, you need all the three, first of all. And it's also the time of the day, right? I mean, usually post-evening, we are more relaxed, more into the inner child part, probably where we can relax and be in a very... So I think, this is so beautiful. I think it's so easy to understand, for us to then navigate through life and through situations. But now coming to the counseling part, because inner child, I think, starts with counseling is what I have experienced. Is there a process you follow for the healing? And what is that?
So there are many ways of addressing inner child healing. And again, to each one their own. I also believe that your path kind of gets decided by the challenge that your soul brings in this lifetime. You know how Rumi says, the wound is where the light enters.
Yeah, beautiful.
So one of the best ways of finding out your path or your modalities or your practices is to see where you're wounded.
Yeah, like what I mean is, let's say I'm, a person suffering from a mental health condition and I come to you as a therapist. What's the starting point? What's the process? What are the steps that I have to go through to be able to feel healed?
Yeah. I think first of all, nobody is walking in with understanding. There are very few people, you are aware of even the words inner child healing. On a practical level, when I actually get clients, for example, for coaching, sometimes they have no idea that there is a very hurt inner child. Because remember, there's no relationship. Whenever the inner child is hurting, that's also an indication that it's an unhealed relationship which is not strongly created. So उनको पता ही नहीं है, first of all. And जिनको पता भी है, they don't know what they're getting into. So
Lack of awareness.
So one of the first steps that I personally take, and like I said, there are different routes to this. Mindfulness will take a different route. Heartfulness will take a different path. Similarly, somebody who does breath work will take a different path. I can share what I work with. One of the first things that I focus on is to begin an awareness that the relationship with the self is fractured.
So it basically means a conversation. Do you start with just talking about my pain point?
Yeah. A lot of times in coaching, the real art is in the questions you ask.
That's what I thought, that's what I was referring to.
Because when you ask meaningful questions, usually a person who's come there will themselves connect the dots and say, oh my God, as I'm talking to you, I've just realized this happened in my childhood, and oh God, this is connected. The best coaching conversations are those where I can be a catalyst and not a solution.
Absolutely.
Where I can act as that catalyst which makes the reaction or the response happen. So your coaching questions are usually the key in terms of coaching. So when I ask questions which lead the person towards self-realization, or I might ask the person to do a reflective process of saying, okay, so-and-so thing is happening in their life, and they say, oh, my partner is doing this, and I hate the way he controls me, and blah, 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 blah. Now, I might ask a simple question like, who does this remind you of when you go back in time? And instantly, as the person is writing the answer, they would say, oh my God, this is like my father, or this is like my mother. And I felt very controlled in my childhood. And this is like a déjà vu. Now, those are the aha moments that begin this journey. Because I don't want to give a lecture to the person. That's not going to work. There has to be a realization facilitated within the person.
So you just facilitate.
Yes.
True.
So if I'm a good coach, I'm going to facilitate that from within the person. I'm not going to prescribe that, oh, you've got an inner child issue, let's work on this. Because that needs to come from you. The person sitting in front of me needs to feel it. And that's when they begin to get their aha moments. And coaching is all about that. Coaching is all about me navigating your journey with you as a catalyst, but not making the solutions happen for you. So that's really the starting point. Of course, that's followed by a number of practices and tools. I could do, for example, inner child regression. I could enter a zone of...
And that's the past life regression?
Not past life, but within this life.
Okay, the formative year.
Yeah, where we could be regressing backwards within the same lifetime. I could do that also. I could take you back to the womb. I could take you back to your birth experience.
Wow.
And what was the first response when you were born? Because your consciousness has got an imprint of that. And that's like a photograph. That's not an intellectual activity. That's imprinted on your consciousness. So what was the first response when you were born? What was your mother's pregnancy like? What were the samskars absorbed by her during the time of the pregnancy? Was it a tough time? So all this is already forming the first impressions on your consciousness.
So all those traumas of our formative years is what comes up.
I could
in the regression.
Yes, absolutely. So when we go back to certain ages, that certain incidents could be frozen in time. And in places, unfortunately, and I must talk about this, in places like, I would say, the Indian subcontinent, not just India, it is very common for children to have experienced abuse of some kind. It could be sexual, it could be mental, emotional, physical. Now, usually, to protect itself, our consciousness would have suppressed it. So it gets buried deep within. And usually we don't even remember it.
Yeah.
But it's impacting us. It's the software that is running us.
The
It's
95% subconscious.
It is the program that is running us, but we don't know it. Now that's very dangerous because something is controlling me and I don't even know it. Now, when I feel safe enough with a therapist, that is when all this stuff starts to come out. The safer I am, the more the stuff that will come up. Because now I feel, yes, I can tell her everything. She is a safe place. She's not going to judge me. She's not here just to love me when I'm behaving good. Even when there is the gutter cleaning happening, she's here with me, supporting me, or he. So that is when the inner child starts revealing things.
So the regression process is like how long? I mean, and can you just take us through it?
Varies from person to person.
Okay.
And if it's happening individually, it could take several sessions. In a workshop format, for example, it is a very intense process. It's a collective energy. And there are some dynamics within the group that facilitate it. Now, each of these are necessary. The one-on-one work is very important and safe. But at the same time, the group work is also very important sometimes because we are not operating in isolation.
Yeah.
We are triggered by people in our lives. So often when we do group work, somebody will say, oh my God, I don't even know her, but she reminds me of my aunt. And I'm feeling anger when I'm looking at her, or I'm feeling scared when I'm looking at him. So all that very beautifully, magically comes up during group work, which is also inner child healing work.
Wow. All right. So now we come to the rapid fire. One of the biggest fears that you've overcome in your life.
Lizards.
Wow. Okay. What is healing?
Bringing it back to its original form.
One belief that you have outgrown.
That I need to earn love to deserve it.
Wow. And lastly, what is life for you?
Life is this play, Leela.
That you enjoy.
Okay, no, let me answer that again. That you enjoy. What is love?
Yeah. What is life? You said Leela.
Huh.
So I said that you're supposed to enjoy.
Okay, yeah, I'll answer that again.
Okay.
So life for me on this planet is a Leela, but otherwise it's an eternal process.
Lovely. Oh my God. Vidisha, this was so delightful. I don't have words to express my gratitude, but I think there's so many more conversations we need to have. This is just the surface and many more to go. Did you like it?
Thank you, Neha, because you've kind of expressed everything I had to. After so many words, we don't have words, because it has just been the most beautiful flow of energies, and thank you for doing this.
Our pleasure.